Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you also need to be careful with your computer's defense as well. If you need a VPN, go Nord. NordVPN.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months and gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via NordVPN.com/Kimber.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 12 of the Crickpicks podcast, in which I, Behram, you can find at DefMango on Twitter, Estelle, who you can find at Estelle Vasudevan on Twitter, and of course, Jarrod Kimber, you can find absolutely everywhere at Jarrod Kimber. What we do in this show is that we pick any random cricket category and we draft our top 5 for that category, which today is going to be cheats in cricket. And it's quite a fascinating one because, well, it's going to ruffle some feathers. There are going to be some fan clubs that are going to come after us. And there are going to be some people who will say that, how could you forget that one cheat? But yeah, as
I also like, my favorite thing about this is how you're going to actually gerrymander it to put more Pakistanis in on the one list that Pakistanis don't want you to put anyone else in.
This is that list that probably will be dominated by Pakistanis, unfortunately. And I've been doing this thing in previous episodes where I'll just watch the world burn by going with a very, very rogue Pakistani last pick. This podcast will be different.
No, you should put no. You should actually try and put no Pakistanis in and see how you go. Just the complete opposite. Who's first, second, and third this week?
I'm first pick in this one, and I'm very happy that I'm first pick in this one. And for those of you who are watching this for the first time, we do a snake style draft. So first pick goes 6th and 7th. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. That's how we oscillate. And I'm number 1. And really happy to be number 1. Haven't rigged it. This one actually happened by complete chance. And yeah, number 1 cheat for me in cricket is Salman Butt, former Pakistan Test captain and someone who came from an educated background, who after winning at Headingley versus Australia said that Pakistan is like that construction going on over there. It's a work in progress. And, once they are complete, they're going to be world beaters. This man even goes on to win the Oval Test in the next series in England and then gets his fast bowlers to bowl some no balls. And, the spot fixing scandal originally hit cricket in the 90s and early 2000s. And after all of that precedent for Butt to go and spot fix in that manner at Lords of all places, as Test captain, there is no higher honor in cricket than to lead your nation in Test cricket. He cheated the game. He served game time, jail time for it. Hopefully, we'll never get game time ever again. And yeah, it was the biggest heartbreak I've ever faced in cricket. And the worst part is that it hasn't come on the field. It's come off of it. And I think that, people will say that, he's, paid his dues and spent time in jail. Forgive him. I can never forgive Salman Butt. And that's why he's number 1.
He's never really truly apologized for it. So,
yeah, he's never apologized for it. Even Salim Malik. Salim Malik also apologized like 20 years later. But never did.
So just on Butt, I think I've talked about this story before, but I'm not sure. But I'll try and keep it as vague as possible. But essentially, in the World Cup before that series, the one that was in the West Indies, it must have been the T20 World Cup. I think that's right. The ICC were aware that he had an extraordinary number of phones. And they spent so much time trying to work out how to do, and they just couldn't work out how to capture him. So it's very important to note that this is not like he was caught one time by a rogue newspaper. Like, he was a big part of it, as you said. And I think on this, he got other people involved. Is it cheating though?
I mean, it is cheating.
How
is it not? How is it not cheating?
My thought of cheating is that you're cheating to win.
This is cheating to earn money. Well, I mean,
I'm not saying he shouldn't be on this list, and I'm not saying you've got him in the wrong spot. And obviously, you're going to pick 5 Pakistanis and then move back to Canada. But I found it very hard to work out whether it's legitimate cheating or whether it's something else. Like, it's a crime against cricket. But I'm not having a go. I'm more than happy. This is a man who, in his own trial, said cricket's not that serious. It's just like wrestling. We're allowed to, fake it all. Yeah, go fuck yourself. And you're number 1 on the cheats list.
to this day, he is not like, he hasn't really owned up and apologized. And I don't get that. I literally don't. And this guy has the audacity to come and, he was a selector for a day. So yeah, fuck Salman Butt. I'll say that on camera. All right. Who's next?
Okay, I'm next, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is probably going to be the only non-Pakistani pick. So Sandpaper Gate has to be in the top 3, right? So I'm going to have to pick Bancroft because he was the one who was caught with the sandpaper. Just catastrophic events, right? I mean, I'm not naive enough to think that people haven't or don't tamper with the ball, but to do it in such a blatant fashion where you're bringing something from outside and, doing it in that way, just incredibly sad. I think going for cricket as a whole, particularly for two teams, in a series where two teams, are generally really competitive and you see a lot of good cricket, I would like to see ball tampering legalized, but I mean,
would you like to see more players put sandpaper down their underwear, though?
What I was going to say is that, not bringing things externally and using it to tamper with the ball. But yeah, so it was just an incredibly sad moment, I think, for cricket lovers on the whole.
I mean, I'm surprised you went with Bancroft, though, because Bancroft was technically following orders, right?
But, I mean, he was the one caught doing it, right?
Fair.
I mean, Bancroft kind of sits in for anyone. To be honest, all of Cricket Australia should be on trial for that, and it's still ridiculous that 3 players were suspended the way they were, and other people were not. And other people.
I like how the fast bowlers didn't know about it.
Why is this magical ball always reversing when I use it? I wonder what's happening.
Did God stuff this up for us?
Yeah, not just, as I said, coaches, administrators. There's a lot of people, and I think one day someone will do the tell-all. And I think a lot of people are going to be embarrassed. And I'm looking forward to that, because I think these 3 people, don't get me wrong, they fucked up and they deserve to be made fun of. And you shouldn't put sandpaper down your underwear. All these things are true, right? But a lot of people were involved in that, and it certainly wasn't Cam Bancroft wasn't the one who did that at the time. All right. So I got back-to-backs here, don't I?
Yes, you do.
It's funny because Estelle just said there's going to be a lot of Pakistanis, but my first choice, and I think you could make an argument that he should be the first choice overall, is W.G. Grace. Because he legitimately cheated, changed scores in score books, told the umpire that they couldn't give him out. There's plenty of stories that he was fixing adjacent. I don't think he fixed any major cricket games, but certainly in some minor ones. There was certainly betting around in games that he was played on that was a little bit suspicious. But regardless of that, you're here to see they're here to see me bat, not you, umpire, and willing to get the scoreboard changed, a scorebook changed so he made more runs. And he kidnapped a dude. I mean, he's got to be if nothing else, maybe the most creative and the most what would you say? I'm trying to think. The most blatant. He was just basically like Donald Trump or Boris Johnson, right? You couldn't even hold him to the thing. He just, no, of course I did that, but now I'm going to go do this, right? Even the legal things he did, like running out, who was it, Sammy Jones, when Sammy Jones thought the ball was dead and everything, just an axe, the proper next level cheat. That's one thing I always find really funny is in England, they go on and on about the piousness of the spirit of cricket and everything, and literally the guy that they've got the big statue of at Lord's and has his own gates at Lord's was the cheat, right? That was his thing. He's known as being a cheat, but you can't run out Johnny Bairstow. Fuck off. Stump Johnny Bairstow, I should say.
Stump Johnny Bairstow.
So yeah, I'm going to big man number 1, absolutely without any doubt. I think I'm going to go Hansi Cronje number 2. Any man who is willing to sell out his country for a leather jacket for his wife certainly deserves to be on this list. Corrupting younger players. We've already talked about Salman, but I think that's the worst thing, isn't it? I'm not saying there are good match fixers or spot fixers, and but it's the corrupting of the players that you're supposed to be looking out for. Especially with South Africa, there was so much goodwill around South Africa as that as a new team, and we were all happy to have them back. And uh, there was so much going on, and Hansi Cronje kind of did shit on it all. And look back at some of the test matches where he forced the result and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just grimy and it's not great. And look, this is me as a heretic saying this, but like, don't tell me the devil made you do it. The devil's a fucking construct. Don't talk shit. You made the fucking decisions to do this, right? Own up to it. Own up to the fact that you as a man put money ahead of pride and doing the right thing, right? But everyone's done it. But own up to it. The devil made me do it. Fuck off.
Have you seen that Netflix documentary on Cronje and his fixing incident?
No, it's the greatest cheats or something it's called, isn't it? That
Bad
series.
Sport.
I've had it. Oh, Bad Sports.
Like
yeah,
that.
that's it. Yeah, I've had it on my list. Is it good?
Yeah, I liked it. And there was this one dialogue which was repeated by a lot of people, in which they said that there was an unfortunate love of money over there, and that it was very apparent. People could see it, how much he loved money.
Yeah. It's look, I think I was a little bit like Estelle. I didn't like the South African team was the enemy of that Australian team before Australia just got better and it didn't matter. But I always liked Hansi because I loved the way he captained. I liked the way he thought about batting. The fact he could bowl medium. Like there's lots of things about him. So I felt like I was one of those people that were done over by him. And yeah, he certainly has to be on this list.
Yeah, for sure. I was expecting him to be one of these names in the first round, so makes sense. All right, Estelle, we're back to you.
Oh yeah.
Okay, back to me. This one I actually found while I was looking for another one. So Rashid Latif claimed a catch.
Yes, he did.
Against Bangladesh, where the ball is on the floor and he picks it up and he appeals. It was insane because, I was looking for the one with Ahmad Shahzad where he dives and he pretends to catch it in his elbow, which I can understand that you may think there are some angles where it may look like it got stuck in your elbow. But Rashid Latif's one, the ball was on the floor and he just picked it up and he appealed. So that I thought was insane because everyone can see what you're doing, right?
I think if you look at wicket keepers through the history of the sport, I think you'll find that there are so many wicket keepers who claim, and I don't know what it is about wicket keepers, but there are so many that are like this. So there's a famous story of there's a Victorian wicket keeper called Slug Jordan who never played for Australia, and the reason he didn't play for Australia is because the other Australians thought he cheated with catches, right? And I think it was Ian Chappell. I could be wrong. If it wasn't Ian Chappell, it was someone like Ian Chappell who refused to be in a side with Slug Jordan because he thought he was a cheat, right? And so I think Rashid Latif could almost play for the fact that wicket keepers are devious bastards. And I'm not going to put this one on because you got Rashid Latif, and I will put this in the Rashid Latif. Does anyone remember when Brad Haddin hit the bails off with his hands and let New Zealander Neil Broom go off the field thinking he was bowled? And then afterwards, Brad Haddin said, "Oh, I didn't feel the stumps." What? What are we talking about here? Your hands went into the stumps before the ball. Anyway, so I've seen some absolutely rippers over the year. So I kind of think that all wicket keepers are inherently dodgy.
Interesting. Yeah, I know Rashid Bhai personally, and I remember that distinctly as well. I don't think he played a test after that. I think that was it. It was the end of his career. Don't think he came back after that.
It's a way to finish. Hell of a way to finish.
Interesting pick over there.
I think he got a ban also, right?
Might have. Yeah. He did ultimately. Of course, he had to own up to it. There was video footage of it. So it was a sad end to someone who actually was against not spot fixing, but match fixing.
That's the funny thing about him is he was one of the most honest players, and like in that way. But when it came to the catch, it's as I said, just wicket keepers union. Just claim everything.
The irony really isn't lost when it comes to Rashid Bhai over there. But I get 2 picks in a row now, and I'm going to go with a non-Pakistani fixer actually over here. And why he makes number 2 on my list is because he didn't learn. He did it twice. Marlon Samuels, 2008, gets booked for leaking information to an Indian bookie, I believe, about like game tactics or whatever, something of the sort. And cops a 2-year ban, comes back, wins the T20 World Cup twice, and just recently has been banned once again for 6 years for, some sort of corruption in the T10 league in Abu Dhabi. So, a lot of people have fixed games and spot fixed over the years, but to do it twice after being banned once, I think that takes a special kind of, I don't know. I don't have words for Samuels, because he's a hero for the West Indies in the T20 World Cups. And here he's completely tarnished his legacy and image. And yeah, in a T10 league, like, you were already getting paid for nothing, So I don't get it. Now, 6 years is a long time. And now I think people had forgotten about the previous charge. No one really remembered the 2 years he was out from international cricket. I think people might remember this one.
Yeah, the first one he was quite young. I mean, not to speak on his side, but he was quite young at the time, and it was kind of before. Like, if you're a hardcore West Indian fan, or someone like me, you knew about it, but it wasn't a big story at the time. Whereas, obviously, now he's quite well known. Although he's kind of done it at either end of his career. So, the middle bit he picked up the trophies, and hopefully the middle bit he wasn't doing this.
Yeah, hopefully. And all I can say is that old habits die hard. And it is unfortunate. But yeah, second pick is a comic or comedy pick. We've all mentioned a few fixers, and there's been one ball tamperer. I'm going to go with the ball tamperer, but someone who did it very uniquely. And I'm going to go with Shahid Afridi biting the ball. And this is not the only instance of Afridi cheating, by the way. He scuffed up the pitch versus England in a test, and KP caught him. So he's done this twice, where he will, want to win games by all means necessary. And the ball biting was just hilarious because, okay, maybe the pitch scuffing where he did a little roly on the surface. Also, Pakistan was supposed to bat still in that game. So I don't understand why he did that. And the ball biting was just so, like, it was the front page of all the newspapers. And it's funny how he just laughs about it. He's like, yeah, I wanted to win the game. I wanted it to reverse. So it's funny how the nonchalance with respect to how Afridi views these incidents. That's why I believe he makes it to number 3.
Just because of how dramatic it was, right? Like, the ball was in his mouth. It was so bizarre. It was a bit like, to just go back to the Australian one. I remember when that was happening, I was talking to an Australian cricketer at the time, and we were both watching the game, and suddenly he said, "Oh no, you don't have to do that." And because he was thinking there are much more subtle ways to tamper with the ball, is what he was saying. And then you watch Afridi, where it's almost like it's like a proper brain fade, where you're thinking to yourself, I've got to do this thing, and he just forgot what he was doing, and so he did it in the most bizarre way possible, in the most Shahid Afridi way possible, right? Like,
literally. Could not, that literally screamed Shahid Afridi. And again, Pakistan lost that game as well. That's the sad part. They were losing every single game on that tour. He bit the ball to get it to reverse, and they lost that as well. So yeah, fitting, I suppose.
Yeah, that was going to be my next pick because of just how hilarious it was, right? I mean, you had so many tampering with the ball, scratching the seam or whatever, and then you have a guy who just chucks it in his mouth.
I think Graham Smith said that he's probably not liking the food in Australia. I think he made that comment.
Okay, I'm next, right? My number 3. Yeah, so I will go with Mike Atherton's, again, ball tampering. Was it dust? Sawdust? Something he had in his pocket, right?
Yeah,
in the pocket, yep.
I picked it because, you think Mike Atherton, like, someone who's 20 years old is thinking Mike Atherton is like, he's one of the cricket gurus or like the people in broadcasting who you look up to, right? And think, this guy, his opinions on a lot of things are so right. But, there were darker days for him as well. I think he's called it his darkest day in cricket, and he had some dark days, right, in terms of performances.
He had some pretty ordinary days. It's funny, I saw him just after the Australian one, and I said to him, I've never looked forward to a column by any cricket writer more than your column on ball tampering, because the dude lived it, right? And we know that Sachin did it. I mean, let's be really honest here. We're calling some of these people cheats. I don't think there's a professional cricketer who has not tampered with the ball, right? Unless they have bad hands and they're not allowed to touch it, or they're too sweaty or something, and it goes all the way back. Even before reverse swing, people used to pick at the seam. It's always happened in cricket, and people always put, oils and things on the ball to try and make it swing more conventionally and everything else. But, as you said, Athers is probably, he's almost like the last English statesman, right? Like Strauss, I suppose, is there a little bit, but he doesn't speak the way that Athens does. He doesn't have that kind of gravitas or anything. Like Athens is that last of that, Jardine, really like line of people. And out of all things, as you said, Estelle, that the sawdust. There's a T-shirt. And I've never bought it. And so I've got Bodyline T-shirts, but I can't remember if it's Bodyline or one of the other companies, but they do a Mike Atherton laundrette T-shirt, which was based on the sawdust incident. And it's perfect. I absolutely love it that happened. So yeah, that's a good pick. It's on me. I got back-to-backs, right?
Yes, you got 2 in a row.
Okay, Shane Warne. I don't think this is talked about enough. The man got done for match fixing and for drugs. and we all as a cricket community just got to go, oh yeah, but that's Warney, right? Like, he was just talking to a bookie. It's just a bloke, him and Junior, that he's got confused. They talked to a bookie. That's right. And then years later, it's like, he's got a masking agent. Yeah, but he was a bit fat and he wanted to lose some weight. It's still a masking agent though, isn't it? Like, am I? He got a 1-year suspension. One of the greatest cricketers of all time was suspended for drugs in the middle of his career.
He missed the World Cup also, right?
Yeah. And was also done for giving information to bookies. I don't know. I always feel he's got a much better reputation than perhaps other athletes who would have done the same thing. And the justification always seems to be, it's just Warney, mate. It's just Warney. I'm like, yeah, but maybe just Warney was also slightly dodgy. Like, that's okay. We can be honest about these things, a hometown boy. But I just don't think it's mentioned enough, right? I just think it gets kind of, forgotten about, and I think definitely needs to be on my list. And I'm assuming neither of you had him.
I did actually. I had his name, but he wasn't probably going to feature in mine because I have a lot of people ahead of him.
No, that's all right. I'm glad. Then I knew I got the right team of Crickpicks here. Now I've gone him. Oh, I'm going to go another ball tampering, but I'm going to go the entire country of South Africa. Because over a period of time, I think it was 4 of them. It was certainly 3 of them were done for ball tampering on 3 on different things, and they were systematically tampering with the ball. And then also, whoever got caught wouldn't tamper with the ball for a while because they would pass it to someone else to do it. So Faf got done twice, Vernon Philander got done, and I think there's someone else I'm forgetting along the lines as well. But I also know this because the umpires told me. The umpires were positive that this was happening. So much so that one umpire said, Jarrod, if you see me hold the ball up in the air for the cameras, it is my way of telling you that they are tampering the ball. And he said, and South Africa are doing it a lot more than anyone else. In the end, like, it's hilarious that Faf du Plessis got fined the same amount for tampering with the ball as he did for wearing the wrong colour shoelaces in a test match. And then Australia suspended the 3 players for this massive amount of time. And again, I go back to the Estelle thing. I'm not like, I know everyone tampers with the ball, but once you get to that sort of Australia sandpaper or New Zealand bottle top or Houston Astros trash can type level of cheating, where there's a systematic system and everyone's involved in it, that's a conspiracy to commit ball tampering at that point, as far as I'm concerned. And good on them for getting away with it without really ruining their Fafs doesn't have a ruined reputation for what he did, right? And they never got major suspension. So all credit goes to them. But I just think because it was so wide and done so brilliantly, I think they have to be on this list.
Yeah, I actually did have Faf because it's not just the mints, it's also the zip on the trouser. There were 2 instances, right? Specifically Faf tampering the ball. That's why he was on my list.
Zip du Plessis. I called him Zip du Plessis for years. Never caught on. I always thought it should have, but hey.
Yeah. Okay, Estelle, it's you now.
Yep. So I'm going with, Jarrod mentioned an incident with Neil Broom. Similar one happened with Justin Langer against Sri Lanka.
That was my last pick, Estelle. I wanted to talk about this so much. Go, do it.
Where he walks past the stumps. I think the ball's dead, right? And he walks past the stumps. He's crossing over the other side of the field. And he gently nudges a bail off and then gets into his fielding position. And they didn't appeal, but I think everyone was wondering how is a bail off, right?
No, they appealed.
They appealed, okay.
I think it was Shane Warne, and I can't remember who the wicketkeeper was, if it was Healy or Gilchrist at that time. It was in Pakistan, wasn't it?
Sri Lanka.
Was it Sri Lanka? I thought it was a Pakistan test, but yeah, it's incredible. Have you heard Langer explain it?
And I like how the whole like post Sandpaper Gate, he became coach and all things good for Australia, and then this video of him surfaces, right? And everyone's asking questions, so kind of nice arc for him as well.
It's ridiculous. I could go into many details here, but he said that, I always did that and I didn't realize I knocked it off. You have a look at the video, it just looks like he knocks it off on purpose. Warne appeals, right? Warne, the worst actor in the world. Have a look at Warne's face. This looks like it was a plan. And they were like, they were trying to sneak a wicket. I think it's some of the most blatant cheating I've ever seen. And it's interesting, if you Google biggest cheats in cricket, you get Trevor Chappell underarm. Trevor Chappell underarm was not cheating. They hadn't updated the laws, right? Like Kyron Pollard intentionally not taking 2 runs, and David Hooks and all those guys who did that. Again, not cheating. They were playing within the laws. Justin Langer was actually cheating. And to go further with Justin Langer, I think before he became the captain, before he became the coach, I wrote the whole piece about how he was cheating in the salary cap with per scorches as well. Like, he was telling players, so because of the way that the Big Bash works, right? They had to make sure that the single city teams didn't have an advantage over the double city teams, right? So what they said was, you can't use Shield cricket at contracts as a way of keeping players in the Big Bash, because otherwise Brisbane, Sydney, Adelaide and Hobart would have all the best teams, and Melbourne and Sydney would be split in 2, right? And Langer definitely did that. I've got multiple players, agents, coaches, general managers, Cricket Australia people, all off the record saying he does it every single time, right? And then he was made coach, and it was like, are you guys kidding me? You know what he's like. The same people who gave him the coaching job were the same people who told me he was untrustable when he was Per Scorcher's coach. What are we even talking about here? But yeah, the whole idea that he didn't know he was taking the bail off, it's just absolute bullshit. Just admit it. Just go, look, it was a flat pitch. Things weren't going our way. We got a bit frustrated. I did something stupid, and I shouldn't do it again, right? We can respect people if they fuck up, if they're honest about it. Whereas it's like, he's still denying it, like, all these years later. We seen the hand, dude. And what did you think they were appealing for? Come on.
Anyway, you guys need to share this video with me, because I do not know about this story, and
I'll
I would
send
love
it to you.
Me and Usman sent me a dinner obsessed by this, because we remembered it when it happened. That's why I thought it was Pakistan, because me and Usman must have like 20 conversations about this incident in our life, right? And we've like Zabruda footage. Do you know what the Zabruda footage is? It's the footage of JFK getting shot. Like, me and Usman are like that with the Justin Langer footage, right? We have seen it so many times from so many angles, right? Like, to have a look at it, like, someone's uploaded a slightly better version of it onto YouTube. We're gonna have to look at this now. I just find the whole thing really, really fascinating.
I mean, it is, and arguably it could have been higher on this list, because that is some next level cheating. Okay, I think it's a double pick for you, Jarrod.
No, it's a double pick for you, mate.
It's a double pick for me. All right.
Yeah, you're banging out here.
I am. Okay, unfortunately, another Pakistani is going to come in over here, and that will be Mohammad Asif, one of the most talented bowlers I have ever seen in my life, and he could do things with the ball that I can do things in life, and he could do those things with the ball, right? So it's crazy how this is a person who, not just the spot fixing, right? Let's forget about the spot fixing for a bit. This guy got done for nandrolone, which is a performance-enhancing drug. This guy was banned from playing in the UAE because at the airport of Dubai or someplace, he got caught with like opioids. And
he did get caught with opioids.
Yeah. I know people who have played cricket with him in Islamabad, just club cricket and that sort of thing. And he would be high while playing these games, which is totally believable, right? Like,
also completely within character of how he played his cricket.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, the spot fixing is just another chapter of the many things that Mohammad Asif did. And it's just so tragic, because he could have really been something, right? He could have been one of the best ever fast bowlers to come out of Pakistan. And he didn't even need pace. which is what most people associate with Pakistan fast bowlers. So yeah, I mean, tragic and, deserved it, had it coming, you'd have to say. And now he lives in the USA. Yeah.
Most
that.
skillful seam bowler I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Absolute tragedy what he did to his career. Gave us the wobble ball. Probably popularized that thing of moving the ball in your fingers when you flick it up, and all these, just so many incredible skills. But yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of marks against him, sadly. So he probably does have to be on this list.
100%. And yeah, I forgot about the wobble ball, right? He was pretty much a pioneer. And I remember this video of Imran Khan saying that he can swing it both ways with the same wrist position. I think that's what the understanding of the wobble ball was back in the day, right?
Just a genius. As I said, just an absolute genius. But clearly he needs to be on this list.
For my last pick, there are a few options over here. And I'm really quite uncertain what way to go. Of course, there are a fair few Pakistan fixers that we can still discuss. There is Danish Kanaria, who did it in county cricket. Nasir Jamshed was the mastermind behind local fixing, and he got caught for it. And I think he also served some jail time. I'm going to go Lou Vincent. And it was bad because I feel like there was already an instance where people had caught him, with a bookie or something. And that kind of got brushed under the rug. Only eventually it turned out that Lou was fixing big time in the county circuit. What I will say about Lou is that I respect him for coming clean eventually. And it took a certain amount of bravery the way he did it. And for that, I have some sympathy. But it was just crazy, the level of fixing that was going on. And he was so regular at it. And I mean, there are murmurs of Chris Cairns as well, right? Of course, that never got proved. But there are some questions.
So that was the legal case. That was the legal case, obviously, where there wasn't enough proof to say that Chris Cairns was involved. But obviously that was the public case, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And Lou was the highlight, I suppose, of that entire fixing scandal. And it's unfortunate because, New Zealand is a team which is kind of synonymous with spirit of cricket for some reason. At least with me, it is. And for Lou to come out as a match fixer was rather disappointing. I expect it from the Pakistani guys at this point, but not from Lou Vincent.
No, I mean, I think he, again, makes sense to be on this list. It's heartbreaking because I do think he's genuinely sorry.
And, I do so as well.
And I think he was a very vulnerable person. I'm not saying that Chris Cairns corrupted him because obviously that wasn't proven in court or anything else, but clearly he was corrupted. Right, like you go back and you hear his story. It's a little bit different, I think, than some of the other guys who maybe saw there was a chance and took it. But yeah, quite clearly, Lou Vincent has to be on this list.
All right, then
Okay,
I'm done.
My last one. Yeah, my last one. Before I go to my last one, I was wondering, does it count as cheating that the ICC managed to find India and Pakistan in the same groups of every tournament that is played, or find a way?
Yeah,
then
I would say yes.
They meet at some point, right? Because they call it a draw, but it's never a draw.
That would be what it's supposed to be, an independent draw, and we all know it's not, and that's fine. But it is actually gerrymandering the leagues every single time. I would suggest it is a form of cheating, although I'm sure I'll get a message from the ICC later for this. But I do think it is cheating. But I'm not saying you have to put it on your list because it seems like you might have something else as well.
No, I'm going with Mohammad Azharuddin at number 5 for me. So I think that 90s era had a lot of fixers. What was, I think, sad was that, he was a good player and
he was never proven though, was he? He's one of the players that I don't think it was 100% proven with him. I mean, obviously it ruined his career, so I'm not saying...
Yeah, he was banned, right?
Was he banned or did he...
Cronje said that Azharuddin was the one who introduced him to the bookies.
No, I'm not saying that... I'm not saying... I mean, we all call him a fixer, but I was saying, like, technically, compared to some of the other guys on this list, I'm not sure if it wasn't overturned, his ban, or whatever. I can't remember the full details. But... quite clearly, you know, he was there. He was fixing adjacent, if not, and that's the reputation anyway, isn't it? And I remember doing a podcast with Hunter Cronje, with Harsha Bogle, and he was talking about how much Mohammad Hazardin changed over the years, and you know how disappointing it was to see a friend go down that route and everything like that. So no, I didn't mean that he shouldn't be on the list. I just meant that his is a bit more complicated than say Asif or Lou Vincent or Marlon Samuels and some of the others. But
so the reason I kind of went with him is because, like you said, like he had a reputation of being good guy. He was a good captain. India was kind of doing well. It was the Sachin era, right? And then to get a lifetime ban was kind of crazy.
Yeah. So
it was overturned at one point, but it was too late by then, I think.
Yeah, he was never going to come back, was he? I think that's, you know, he was gone there.
Also in the 90s, like I could have gone for some other 90s fixer as well because there was so many, but it seemed like everyone was kind of doing it, no?
Oh, I mean, that the other issue here, it's a bit like the ball tampering, isn't it? At a certain point, like we have all heard the stories about many more famous players. You know, I mean, Wasam Akram is, you know, mentioned in the report where, in the Khayyam report, where Judge Khayyam basically says, yeah, but I like Wasam Akram. So, you know, like it's all there, right? Like there's plenty of players that have certainly been talked about with those sorts of things as well. Yeah. But I'm going to finish up with West Indies team of, I want to say 1992, maybe 1993. I can't remember the exact year, but it was early 90s. Actually, it would have been earlier than that. It might have been 1991. I think the test match was in Antigua, if I remember correctly, but Dean Jones was bowled. And he was bowled by a delivery that happened to be a no ball, but he didn't hear it because the crowd went nuts. So he put his bat under his arm and started to walk off the field. And then Alan Border said to him, Dino, it's a no ball, get back. And so Dean Jones started to run back and the West Indies ran up and ran him out. The umpires made a mistake. They didn't know the laws correctly and didn't realize that if you read the laws, it says if you're leaving because you believe that you've been dismissed and you haven't been dismissed, you can't be out. Right? It's one of the weird gray areas that we have when it comes to being out of your crease, where it's actually okay to be out of your crease. But the umpire didn't know, or neither of the umpires knew, and so Dean Jones was sent from the ground. Dean Jones goes to the bar that night to have a drink, and the West Indies players come up and go, they knew the law and allowed the decision to be made anyway. Not only that, they were the ones running up to take the bails off. Classic bit of shithousery. Proper like fun cheating, I think. Like good anecdote for Dean Jones's book. But yeah, I always liked that story. I mean, I was a kid. Dean Jones was like one of my heroes. It was a huge thing for that to happen when it came to my life and everything. But I also like the story of like the West Indians are like, why should we be penalised for knowing the laws better than the umpire? All right, if the umpire is going to make a mistake, if they make a mistake on a caught behind or anything else, we're not going to correct them. We're certainly not going to correct them on this particular one. But it's a bizarre. You'll find the clip online. It's a bizarre moment. The whole thing of like Dean Jones running back to try and not be run out after a minute earlier having the bat under his arm on the way off the field. But yeah, so yeah, that's my last pick. I like that one. It's a bit weird, and we've gone quite dark and deep at times with some of these. You know, this one, it's a fun cheating, and isn't that the best kind of cheating?
I suppose so. There are obviously a lot of honorary mentions over here. Srisant, Ashraful. A long list of Pakistanis, including Nasir Jamshed, Danish Kanaria, Mohammad Amir, Salim Malik, Sharjeel Khan. I've probably missed a couple. All of them were there.
Some ball tampering as well. England in the 2005 Ashes is another famous kind of ball tampering. I think I mentioned it briefly before. The New Zealand bottle top with, was it Pringle?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, whose son now plays for... Is it his son that's playing for the Netherlands or something? I think as well. Maybe I've got it confused. There's a New Zealand seamer whose son is playing for Netherlands as well. Yeah, so there's a few ball tampering ones. There's a ton of catches and also fake outs, like by wicket keepers turning around pretending they've missed a ball, waiting for the batter to move and taking the bails off. I'm trying to think of some of the others. So yeah, there's a lot. you know, a lot of those sorts of things that have happened.
Quentin de Kock
before.
did that recently, didn't he?
Oh yeah, and you mentioned Shahid Afridi on the pitch. Roughing up the pitch. We certainly had some roughing up the pitches once. I think Matthew Wade got suspended once for doing a dance on the pitch, like quite obviously trying to rough up the pitch. Actually, this one's a club cricket one, but it's one of my favorite stories ever from Australia because it's Dean Jones's dad. Right? They were playing a club final over two. I can't remember if it was over Saturday, Sunday, or over 2 Saturdays. But there was there was a break in between, obviously, even though it was a club game. And they turned up when I think Dean Jones's team, his father's team was Carlton, if I remember correctly. And they turned up for the second day of the final, and someone had left a block of ice on a length on the pitch, right? So the whole pitch is dead bone dry, except for on one end there's a wet patch for you to bowl at. And the legend of that story always was that it was Dean Jones's father who put the block of ice on there. So that I like that. That's some really good. And I'm sure. I couldn't remember any of the older ones, but if we had someone like Abhishek Mukherjee on, or or Arun Sengupta, I'm sure they'd be able to come up with some great old cheating moments because there are some classic ones. There's also like just little bits of weirdness. I think Alan Knott was one of those players who used to use the bail to mark his guard, and the Indians took the bails away before he came up to face the ball. So, like this. So there's a heaps of little tricks and stuff like that as well. And Jason Gillespie used to run into bowl, waving his arms like a bird, on days when he was on a really flat pitch, which I think is directly against the laws of cricket as well. So yeah, there's heaps of fun ones out there like that as well.
I'm glad that people who didn't walk after nicking it didn't make it, because that's technically not cheating.
Yeah,
no, that's good cricket. That's the way the game should be. I couldn't think of any in women's cricket, Estelle. I mean, Hypercourse will probably put 10 comments in, but I just can't think of any. I did rack my brains, but I couldn't think of any.
Yeah, I couldn't find any as well. I think it also comes down to the fact that there hasn't been that much of televised cricket, right, in the 90s and early 2000s. So
it could be that. There is that great. This isn't quite cheating, but this is another funny anecdote. There was a club game in Melbourne in the 1930s in women's cricket where it was so windy that they decided to put chewing gum on the bails to keep them on rather than taking the bails off. And what happened was, of course, I think they bowled a woman twice and the bails didn't come off because they had chewing gum on them, right? So not quite cheating, but the umpires just got completely confused of what to do that day and went with that. So that was one I always remembered as well. So there's some great old shifty stuff that went on in the 1800s, but I couldn't think of anything brilliant to put in this one. But it's very fun. I'll go through the list.
Yeah, let's do it.
Behram went first. He went Salman Butt, Mullen Samuel, Shahid Afridi, Muhammad Asif, Lou Vincent. So you've got 4 match fixers on your list. Estelle went Cameron Bancroft.
I have 4 match fixers. Yes, Afridi is the only non-match fixer.
Yep. Estelle went Cameron Bancroft, Rashid Latif, Mike Atherton, Justin Langer, Muhammad Azharuddin. So a more varied list, a little bit there. I've got W.G. Grace, Hansi Cronje, Shane Warne, South Africa's ball tampering, and West Indies' Dean Jones run out. I don't know. I think because people hate fixing so much, Behram might take this just because he's gone with that. But I do like Estelle's overall list because she's got a keeper, she's got a fielder, and she's got a fixer. She's got a nice broad covering, I think, of all the different kinds of shithousery that has gone on in our sport. But please, as always, vote on who you think is best. Put your own cheats in the list below. I'm sure there's some great random ones that we've forgotten about out there as well. I think cricket is made to cheat in. I think it's a fantastic cheat sport. And I wasn't looking forward to this at the start, but by the end I was like, no, this is fun.
As Jarrod said, mention your cheats in the comments below. We've definitely missed a few, so tell us those. And vote. We really want to know who wins these Crickpicks rounds, and maybe in the future we'll have a poll or something of the sort. But anyway, that'll be it for this episode. Stay tuned for another episode of Crickpicks next week. That is all for today. Goodbye.
A lot of people complain that I'm not a former cricketer and so that I don't really know the game. Well, you know what they can't claim? then I don't know desks. I've been using desks for years. I'm a collector of desks, old and new, and I'm sitting on a new one right now. I'm the Don Bradman of sitting at desks. So when I tell you that the E7 Pro next generation height adjustable desk from FlexiSpot is legit, this is like Michael Jordan talking to you about sneakers. This desk holds 160 kilograms. It is as stable as anything I've ever seen, and it has under desk cable management. But really, the main skill here is that this desk rises and falls at the push of a button, and it moves super quick. And it has so many settings that remember your favorite heights. It really does it all. And I could not recommend the E7 Pro from FlexiSpot anymore, even though I am currently sitting on one of FlexiSpot's BS12 Pro multifunctional, adjustable, upgraded fabric, ergonomic chairs. My butt and computer have never been happier than when using one of FlexiSpot's products. So get over to their page right now for big savings.